Welcome to the With Generous Hearts podcast, where stories and spirit meet. On today's episode, you'll hear the story of Mary and Fletcher Gregory. This story is shaped by the loss of their daughter Salem in 2020, and yet, a day at a time, they keep showing up as part of this place, knowing that they are held in community and in God's love. I am honored to sit down with Mary and Fletcher Gregory today to hear more about your story. I'm glad to welcome you to the podcast. I'm getting to meet you for the first time, but I know you've been around Christ Church a really long time. So I wonder if you'll just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your connection to Christ Church, how long you've been here, things like that.
Sure. We moved to Charlotte in 1988 and did some church hunting, but we quickly came to Christ Church. Had a lot of people that we knew already, but I think the big thing, we had a 3 and a 1 year old, and the Sunday school program was very, very attractive to us at that point. And then as over time in regular attendance, we got hooked in different ways, and it's been our spiritual home. It really has been for almost 40 years now. And the more we're here, the more it's home.
Yeah.
And it's a real community for us.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. My family came to one of the Sunday school days, and when they called it Sunday Fun Day, my daughter was hooked. She was like, I could show up if we're gonna have fun and do that. So I appreciate that. What are some of the things that you've been involved in here that have been a blessing to you?
Well, I must say, when we moved here, I was working full time.
Okay.
And not quite that time, but a little bit later. And the fact that they had a women's evening Bible study was very nice. They had a lot of programming for non-working mothers, but I could always go to that, and that helped a lot. I've been involved in a lot, as one is when they've been here for so long. Right now I'm working with the Mahjong ministry that we started to bring in people, and that's been a lot of fun through the ECW. Years ago, I was a liaison to the grants committee on the when I was a vestry member assigned to the ECW board, and was able to see how the funds we raised went out to the women and children in the community. And of course, for years, I taught first grade Sunday school in Big Thomas, which was a lot of fun. And right now I'm doing the foundation. Junior warden once, which was really fun, when a piece of plaster fell on one of our esteemed parishioners' head on the left side of the church, on the left, and he turned around to let me know. But
other duties as assigned as a vestry member, right?
That was quite a time, but lots of memories in each piece of the church.
Well, this particular podcast series is looking at how perseverance and generosity weave together. And so often when we have difficult times, people can hunker down and shut off and say, okay, I don't need people, I don't need God, or they can lean in. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about this fall and thinking about is when both generosity and perseverance have been true. And I wonder, for the both of you, when has that been true in your story?
Good question to use both those words. Let's see, perseverance can be done alone. It can be done, but it's not as growth producing as when you can do it in a community. Especially when there's such a bedrock of belief in a higher power, in a spiritual being. And of course, we were given everything from the church and the community through our hard time. So when I go through that, I don't know about other people's stories, but it makes one want to return the favor to others. And that's being the generosity of people to us has just come in. So we hopefully can be generous to other people who have had hard times, and celebrate the good times.
Yeah, I think when you think of generosity, particularly in an institution that is dependent on gifts
Yeah.
to operate, you think of fundraising and the generosity of its members. But uh, to us, I think the other side of that generosity coin is what we've been given. And the generosity of the church that came to our rescue, really, when we lost our daughter in 2020. And without the church and all the support that we received, it would have been a very much more difficult time to persevere through. The the church is so supportive of us through that. Chip was there from the beginning. The we had She died in Indiana, and we had a funeral there, and we had a funeral back here in Charlotte that during COVID is 2020, and the the arrangements that he made were very special, and he created a support team for me and one for Mary of parishioners that Mary still meets with weekly 5 years later. And it's the Center for Wellbeing was not in existence, but the counseling people were, and Molly Reeds was our counselor through that, although albeit virtual.
Yeah.
It worked, and she was very helpful. So we owe the church a lot in getting us through our most difficult days.
So at the beginning, when Salem died in Indianapolis, it was a shock. It was a surprise. And we were in Indianapolis not knowing anybody, and I was lost. And the first call I made was to Patty Ryan, who was a clergy here. And I said, I can't, I said, I can't find God. And Patty said to me, God is in the love of the people around you. That's what she said. That's all she said.
That's beautiful.
So then I could relax a little bit and see that. And then in Indianapolis, we were out there for about a week. I called Chip. I said, please tell me that saying you say about God is in front of you, God is behind you, God is next to you. It was just something that I held on to. And he said that. And then in order to get through the service in Indianapolis, I called several people and said, could you just give me some verses I can put in there? Because the funeral wasn't really defined. We had to make it in Indianapolis. And then one thing Chip said on the phone, I always believe what he said. He said, you will have a home when you come back here. Everybody is here waiting for you. Because when we were there, we were displaced.
Yeah.
We didn't, I was just floating. And when he said that, I trusted that. So then 2020 came back, and he called the bishop and they made it so that Christ Church could open 3 rooms and have more people come in each room.
Wow.
That's what they did. So we had to have a certain number of people in each room, had to decide who to invite for each room, that whole piece.
Yeah.
Then met with Lisa Saunders, who helped do the eulogy and asked us great questions. So in that point, without the church, it was just there. And not only there institutionally, but there in a bedrock of we were going to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chip came over and gave us communion on our deck, got through the funeral, and all that happened. And then 5 years hence, now, somebody still donates flowers on the altar anonymously on her birthday. Wow. I can sit in the church on the pew side on the right, and she's right there in the garden. And, I never want to leave Charlotte because she's right there. So that, and then that's how and then we got the most beautiful letters from people. It just showed me the generosity of people's hearts, the goodness of people's hearts.
Well, and one of the things Fletcher, you mentioned this before. I think people tend to think generosity can only be a dollar bill and an offering plate. And what you're describing is it became embodied in encouraging words of faith. And I'm sure there were meals on your doorstep and communion on your deck. I mean, those are beautiful images of the body of Christ saying, "We have you."
And God is love and the people around you.
Yeah. That's a beautiful reminder, and a reminder too that when we are in places where we say, "God, where are you?" Right? We don't know where you are. That there's people who believe on our behalf until we're ready to say it ourselves, right?
Exactly.
That we can, and then we can offer that to others, which I think you both have shared too. That's part of what you want to be is generosity in the world now. How has that experience shaped how you show up for people now?
Gratitude, I think, would be the first way to describe. We're grateful for what we were given and just want to be a part of the place that gave it to us and share it with whomever we come into contact with, whether there's a tragic need or whether it's just everyday living and doing. And we've always wanted to make Christ Church the best place it could be because it's done so much for us, and so we continue to stay involved. And it's home away from home.
The other part about gratefulness, as Fletcher said, is having gone through the experience, being there for people to talk to me about their grief and easily access that and not hide from it. And some people compare griefs. My dog died. I feel bad because I feel so bad about my dog, and your daughter died. Grief is grief, regardless. And so, and we're easy to access like that and just accept it and be there.
Well, I think even as you share about Salem and you talk about that experience, so many people carry that as shame. Like they're not supposed to talk about things. They're not supposed to share that widely. They're supposed to deal with it in their own home and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? That's such a cultural sort of understanding of grief. And what you all are sharing is there's another option. It's more vulnerable, obviously, to say, hey, can people come alongside? But sort of what you're describing is it's also life-saving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
And that was really helpful with well, once you're over the shock, when we have Molly, we would do Molly once a week on Zoom. We just got so much from that. The tools, the understanding.
Yeah. To receive that help. And I think you're right. When you can talk about it like a church is, that it's a sign of strength.
Yeah.
That's such a different message than so many people hear. And in some levels, you're saying therapy is part of our generosity.
Yeah.
Right? That to keep therapy free and accessible is generosity in this community.
Yeah. And generosity can be, it's hard to express. The financial is necessary to keep this institution going and to keep all these things going. And there's some folks that do give their gifts. Their gifts, they consider their certain gift and talent that they give to the church, and they consider that part of their generosity, but we still need the financial. There's, otherwise we don't have this. And as long as the message has been out that the littlest amount you can give is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's $10.
I love to tell people that whether it's $5 or $10, it's pregnant with possibility because God's in it, right? So you never know. My young kids, often when we're driving to church and they've got their dollar bill or their $5 bills for the offering plate, will ask the question, what do you think God's going to do with that $5 bill? And I love it because they'll say, well, they're going to buy goldfish for the nursery, or they're going to, these kind of things. But it's helping them understand that like God has a purpose for this.
That's right.
And not in a, sometimes I'll be like, it's probably turning on the lights today. There are those realities.
Paying mommy's.
Exactly. Paying salaries, doing all those kind of things. I wonder for you, when you think about what you've been through, I mean, 2020 for most people was already traumatic, and you've added that. How's it changed your faith?
Oh my gosh, it's huge for me.
Yeah, it was a setback for a while.
For you.
It really was. Yeah. The Lord's Prayer, thy will be done, and you accept God's plan, and I lived that way. And then this happened. And then I was saying, this is a pretty crappy plan.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
And so I had a extended period, months, where I didn't pray and I didn't feel God, and I wasn't angry. I was just stunned, I guess, in a way that it didn't. I just couldn't sort it out, and
It's okay.
the way I reconciled that was to realize that God lost a child. And in that context, you understand, it wasn't his work, it was the way it was to be. And so that's how so that when you get into that depth of feeling and thought, and it really does deepen your faith. And we're working hard to be grateful for the time we had, not what we don't have.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to go forward, is to appreciate the life and not mourn the death. And that's for all the time. It's sad, but we try to go forward.
It's remarkable thinking about how grief and gratitude, they feel like they're two different paths, but they actually, to move forward through it, you have to find some spaces where you can say, let's focus on what that looks like. Part of what you're sharing was God lost a child.
Yeah.
And then were you able to forward into stronger faith foundation for you?
The spiritual life is important to both of us, and you have to work at it.
Yeah.
And it is just like physically, you have to exercise. You have to work at it, and we both try to. It's a work in progress. It always will be, and always has been.
I'm a cancer survivor, and when I was diagnosed, I remember telling people I didn't pray for 6 months after it happened, and people would be like, "I'm praying for you." I'm like, "Good," because I'm not good, right? I appreciate that, but I can't bring myself to that space, and I also wasn't in a space to be fake, that with people, people are praying for you. I was
You don't feel it. You don't feel it.
Exactly. You don't feel it. And someone had shared with me about a verse in Chronicles about standing in the gap for you. And I just said to the Spirit, I'm going to stay here, but you're going to have to work on my behalf, right? And I'm going to trust that we're going to get back to a place together. And I think that's such a real response to tragedy, to plans that seem so unfair and not being able to understand them. And I think it's so true to say what you just described, thy will be done. Those are hard words to say when you think that.
Deal with bad stuff.
Yeah. And Mary, to your point earlier, you were making phone calls to community. Because I think when you can't say it for yourself, you need those other people to speak that over you.
I had to, different than Fletcher, I had just double down hard and find God. I didn't have any option. I was in such a chasm of despair and loss that one night I just came home. It would always hit me on a Thursday night, and I came home from work and just got out. Someone sent me an excellent book. I got a lot of books that weren't speaking, but a really good book from someone who had survived a hard tragedy. And she said, I've thrown away a lot of books, and this one helped. And then I got out John O'Donohue's The Space Between Us. So on Thursday night, I go to the bed and I just read it. I had to have a bedrock. And that got my faith really strong. I had no other option. And through that, and it was authentic. It wasn't to help me get over it. It was just God's always here. Things happen to everybody, you know. I'm no different than anyone else. But I want to honor Salem by trying to be the best I can. And so that really did it. Where his words, his poetry. I like to read and understand. So it was through the readings and the poetry that made me take it out of myself and see it as a universal experience.
Part of what you two are describing, when I hear about Christ Church, the phrase "spiritual home for all,"
Yeah.
that is, you're describing, that's been true for us, but you're also sharing. And that doesn't mean you're in your Sunday best and you have your whole life together. You know, for all doesn't mean for all that have it together or have it together on Sunday morning for an hour or something like that, right? I wonder, we've got a new building going up. We've got potential of new ministry and what that looks like. What are you excited about for Christ Church? What do you hope if somebody else were to have a difficult experience similar to yours or just a grief, like what do you hope this place is for them?
So what excites me about the future is the continuation of this acceptance for all. I was on the vestry when the gay marriage proposal came around.
Wow.
And I was able to read. We asked all the parishioners, old and young, to send letters about what they thought about that. And I was privileged to be able to read all the letters. And the older generation, yes. It was so heartening to hear the love of so many people. So what I hope for the future, as we continue to have a diverse congregation, hospitality is open, everybody's welcome, we have room to expand, and especially the youth group, and that we have the financial resources to keep the staff strong and to keep the programming going, and that 20 and 30-year-olds that are coming by the droves now can continue to, once they get out of the busy world, can continue to find their place here. And it's just really exciting.
Yeah.
This is a very dynamic time in the life of the church.
Yeah.
And so we are in this amazing time in the life of this church, but also, as you know, in the world where churches are getting smaller, we are getting more vibrant, and that's exciting.
And it's not only on our eternal footprint, it's in the community, of course, all the needs in the community, as well as through the our money to the World Church, how we distribute funds nationally and internationally. There's never a doubt when you think about it. You can go to the chapel anytime and sit and have that quiet to talk to God. That side door is always open.
Yeah.
That's like a cornerstone of this church.
A statement of inclusivity and accessibility, and God is here.
And talk to God.
Yeah.
When we came in '88, outreach was important to the church. It was talked about a lot, and that 10% to the community was there. It's still there, and what work that can be done through our vision and our campaign, and 10% is going to outreach, and it's a big number for us to help where the need is. So, and there's plenty of need in this world.
Yeah.
So I think we're part of supporting those people in need through our involvement at the church.
Well, and I think that lends itself to this idea of well-being for all, right? Not just well-being for people who can walk in our building, or well-being for who can show up on a Sunday morning, but well-being that the whole community is noticed and seen and responded. My very first day at work here was the day y'all signed the beam.
Oh, really?
For the building. It was a great day. We had all of the CCK kids on the lawn and watching this beam go up into place. And I've often thought there's so many names on there that are going to be embedded in the history, and thinking, what's it going to look like 20 years from now?
Yes.
Because the dream is we could sign 20 more beams, right?
Yes.
With people's whose stories are impacted by young people who are like, man, I have a cozy couch to have a conversation with Alice or Savannah Jane, or I can imagine in a coffee shop, someone who's lost a kid being like, can you meet me there?
Yeah.
I don't know how to show up anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
It's easier to do it there than to try. You're right. That's going to be an area that we can immediately say, let's go there instead of somewhere else.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
And I can have a tear in my eye and it's not going to be a shame. It's going to
Or
be.
just connect with somebody when you feel like seeing them and you're too rushed coming out of church to
Yeah.
talk.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and
that's
so
great.
I just, as I look at that beam, I continue to think like, oh, there's so many more names
That's right.
that will be part of
Yes.
that story.
Yes.
That's so good. Well,
And what we're excited about with the new building is that it will become the hub of the campus. Now we have that intentional gathering space that both an indoor and an outdoor space that will be so helpful that we can meet at church or you can meet friends at church.
Well, and I think just kind of wrapping up that thought, one of the things that is happening in our culture is there's a loneliness epidemic all over the place. 2020 was real and traumatic for lots of people, and it set people back from relationships. And so I think to build a gathering space is also a statement of you don't have to be alone.
That's so
Like
true.
God wants to be with you.
Yeah.
We want to be with you.
Yeah.
And what is that?
I
What does
know.
that look like?
Well, I think about just last Sunday at church when we were walking out. I knew that a friend of mine who was a little older was sort of had a hard time, and I wanted to say, you want to go, let's just sit down, and I couldn't do that because there was no place to go. But now, I said, let's go over there. What's going on? Just tell me about your trip, that kind of thing.
That's
Connect.
beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. You have been great. I so appreciate the
Thank you
wisdom
so much.
and your long-standingness.
Oh,
I've got 2 questions I'm going to ask everybody at the end.
Okay.
2 final questions. And I didn't put these on my little cheat sheet, so just give me your gut reaction. But I know that when life gets tough, we turn to God, but sometimes people turn to snacks. So I want to know what's your go-to comfort food that you have. You got it, Mary.
Yeah.
Ice cream.
Yeah. Entenmann's snack cakes individually wrapped.
Really?
Change the recipe so they're not as good.
That's awesome. That's what you regret.
That's right. I am.
I love that. Fletcher, you got a favorite kind of ice cream?
I like them all.
You like them all.
Yes.
You can handle that.
Yeah, chocolate is always
Always hits.
good.
That's good. And what are you grateful for today?
Him.
No.
each other. Christ
Yeah.
Church.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have the church and one day at a time.
Yeah.
Just grateful to have this day and to do the best.
This
we
is the
can
day the
today.
Lord hath made.
Yeah.
Let us
Let's rejoice and be glad in it.
Amen.
Amen.
I hope that vulnerability shared by Fletcher and Mary inspired you. I know for me, I'm going to hold on to that phrase that God is showing up and present in the ways that people are loving you right now. And I pray that you feel God's love. And we know that there are so many more stories and more yet to be written in this community. We want to invite you to share your stories with us. There's a link in the show notes, and that'll invite you to leave us a voice memo or an email telling us the ways that God's generosity is showing up in our world. And it's probably no surprise to you, because I'm the director of annual giving, that I want to invite you to be part of this movement of generosity by making a financial commitment here at Christ Church. We call that financial commitment a pledge, and you can pledge online at christchurchcharlotte.org. Thank you for journeying with us and listening with generous hearts.